coming up on DHN.
The Ukraine may be getting a new president after protests became violent.
The U.S. held its own in this year's Olympics, but not without a few upsets.
Internet connections will run faster as Arizona continues to become a technology hotspot. Keeping up with today's news for the hearing and the deaf.
The Deaf and Hearing Network starts now.
Thanks for joining us here at the Deaf and Hearing Network. I'm Melissa Huber.
And I'm Clayton Ide.
For months, activists in the Ukraine have been upset because of the government's decisions. After President Viktor Yovanovitch signed a trade agreement with Russia instead of the European Union as promised, protests began. This week, people gathered at the Capitol to demand a change. These were some of the most violent protests in almost 10 years. Reports have claimed that about 100 people have been killed so far. Protesters signed an agreement with the government this past weekend, and it led to protest leaders being released from jail, and the Ukraine parliament unanimously voted to remove the president from office. However, he has come out and said he will not be leaving. There continues to be tension, and leaders from around the world are discussing protective actions.
The community held a meeting this past week to discuss a new bill that will affect the Arizona State Schools for the deaf and the blind. Diane Sue Kovacs was able to talk with some of them about what this bill means.
If the ASDB employee contracts bill passes, it allows the board to appoint one superintendent for the deaf and one for the blind. However, neither need to have a background in sensory-impaired education, only strong administrative skills. After much controversy with former Superintendent Robert Hill, the community feels the board isn't picking someone with the right qualifications.
He stood up in front of the whole parent organization for PTSD and flat out said, "I don't know sign language. I don't know anything about deaf history. I don't know anything about deaf culture, but I do know how to run a school."
Many said they want someone who understands their community. They feel the new bill won't give them that, and it's time to stand up for what they want.
We need somebody who really understands the deaf, who can say, yes, they need that, and then spend the money wisely.
The bill was just put into a Senate committee for review, but many are wondering, where did it come from?
At the ACDHH meeting, one of the women said, "I didn't even hear about the bill until last week's meeting."
Not knowing where the bill came from has people worried. Plus, having two superintendents means the state will have twice the paycheck and may not be able to afford it in the long run.
My friend is a superintendent for another deaf school, and he said that he predicts in 25 years or so, all of the deaf schools are going to be closed. And this bill makes me worried. Is it the first sign?
Arizona's legislature is getting national attention again for passing what some call a discrimination bill. The right to refuse service bill allows business to refuse service to anyone based on their religious beliefs. There have been numerous protests across the state telling Governor Brewer to veto the bill. Mainstream media has focused on its impact on the LGBT community. The bill was first created because of a New Mexico lawsuit involving a wedding photographer and a gay couple. The bill, however, affects almost anyone. If you are a different race or have different beliefs, you can be turned away. The Economic Council worries if passed, the bill would hurt business during next year's Super Bowl, similar to the immigration bill that got national recognition, SB 1070. In light of the controversy, Governor Brewer vetoed the bill on Wednesday.
Families and friends of the 19 hotshots who died in last summer's Yarnell fire may be getting a more permanent reminder of their heroes. DHN reporter Alita Hunt is in the newsroom with more.
Yes, that's right. Temporary memorials were created after the death of 19 Granite Mountain hotshot crew members this summer. Now, residents of Yarnell are hoping that a $500,000 permanent memorial will be made. If approved, the Yarnell Hill Memorial State Park would be created at the site of the fallen hotshots. There are no physical plans for the site yet, but Arizona Representative Karen Fan says it will be something small, like 19 crosses.
Google will roll out its new fiber network in 3 Arizona cities. Scottsdale, Phoenix, and Tempe will be one of the first with this technology before Google expands to other states.
And the reality is that in a changing economic climate, we have to think of high-speed internet as a central component to our community's innovation infrastructure.
A few months ago, the Mesa mayor announced that Apple would be moving into one of its facilities. And 2 years ago, Intel built its new structure here in Chandler. Google's fiber network is yet another way that Arizona is becoming the Silicon Valley in the desert.
The U.S. may be seeing a woman in the presidency after the next election. Legislators have said the country isn't ready for a female president, but some people disagree.
But right now, if the election were tomorrow, Hillary Clinton would most likely be the President of the United States.
Recent hypothetical polls have shown that Clinton would win in key battleground states, including Ohio, which has voted for the winning presidential candidate since 1964.
Another bill that will affect both the deaf and the blind is making its way through Congress. Diane Sue Kovacs is at the assignment desk with the latest.
Thanks, Melissa. This bill is trying to change the way that mainstream schools handle deaf and blind students. If passed, the bill will force schools to fit the specific needs of each child. The bill will also make the state more accountable for how children are taught. In a recent blog post, the author of Madness in the Mainstream talks about his experiences. He said that the way children are being taught now is not effective and it needs to change.
The bill was put into a House committee this month.
North American leaders, often referred to as the three AMIGOS, just met to make some major diplomatic decisions. Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. met in Mexico for the annual North American Leaders Summit and decided to streamline trade and travel among the 3 countries. President Obama joined the summit on high tensions as the U.S. continues to struggle with how to handle immigration along the U.S.-Mexican border. The trio also discussed a trade agreement called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This agreement would affect legal issues and not just goods. Because of this, many legislatures have urged the president to not sign the agreement. However, Obama has gone against his party's requests and is asking that Congress fast-track approval of the agreement.
Tub Time with Tate was just put on display at the Dyer Arts Center in Rochester, New York. It is Tate Tullier's first solo gallery.
When RIT first contacted me to do my Tub Time with Tate project, my first reaction was, wow, this is my first big art show, with only my work being displayed. It was a huge compliment.
Tullier is a professional photographer but likes to document his life. That is how his classic tub shots came about. This weekend, he went down to see his gallery and everyone viewing his photos.
I mean, naturally, I couldn't help but watch people. I guess I was a bit of an awkward artist while I was there. It was my first time having a show, and all these people were there, and I was just so excited for my exhibit. It was flattering, I mean, everyone that was there had taken time out of their lives to come look at my artwork. That in itself was a huge compliment.
The gallery is open until April 7th.
A gallery that's main focus is making art with sound is getting attention from around the world. The artist herself happens to be deaf and wanted to find a way to have what she calls ownership of sound.
I didn't start with a clear message, but over time I've realized it gets stronger and becomes a clear vision.
Christine's son, Kim, has become a well-known artist for her work with sound as a central theme to her art. She says that her success has grown with each gallery.
I do notice a few key things that have contributed to my success. First of all, I've worked really hard and I feel like I've made smart decisions. And the deaf community, is a small niche, and yeah, I'm comfortable in it. But the reality is, we live in a hearing world, and so we need to step out of that and go out and find support from the hearing community. Also, I feel like I've surrounded myself with people who love discussing ideas and who believe in my work, and that requires a lot of mutual respect and support.
She has 2 exhibits in Los Angeles, California, and Germany, and will be featured in a South Korean exhibit next month.
Home court advantage worked well for Russia in this year's Olympics. They came in first place for medal count with 33 overall medals. The U.S. wrapped up with 28 medals, 9 gold, 7 silver, and 12 bronze. Now, let's take a look back at some of the Olympics highlights and upsets. The U.S. won its first gold medal in free dance figure skating. Merrill Davis and Charlie White made up the figure skating duo. The two of them have been skating together for almost 17 years. They now hold the high score record of 195.52.
Russian speed skater Viktor An just tied for the highest recorded medal count with U.S. speed skater Apollo Ono. An won 2 gold medals in this year's Winter Olympics in Sochi. One was for the 500-meter relay. The other was for the 5,000-meter relay. He won medals with the Korean team in previous years, but switched his citizenship to Russian, specifically for these games.
The Canadian women's hockey team caused quite the upset for the U.S. Before the medal matches even started, the U.S. lost to Canada 2-3. The teams competed again during the gold medal match. The U.S. led for more than 2.5 periods with 2-0. Canada decided to play without their goalie so they'd have more power on the ice. At 16:34, Canada made its first goal, and with only 55 seconds left in the regulation, they made their second goal. This forced both teams into overtime and ended with Canada winning gold. The final score was 2-3. In the semifinals, the U.S. men's hockey team did its best to beat Canada in honor of the women's defeat. Both teams were made up of pro NHL hockey players and were quite the rivals on the ice. The U.S. ended up losing 0-1. They played against Finland for bronze but lost with 0-5.
If you live in Arizona and try to collect prizes for fantasy football, you could be facing criminal charges. The Senate is working hard to change that. Millions of Americans already place money on their fantasy football teams. But Arizona is one of the 5 states where that is not allowed.
We want the residents of the state of Arizona to be able to play fantasy sports games, be able to win prizes for their performance, and enjoy a hobby that they are probably already playing and just unable to collect a prize on.
This bill would make it so fantasy football is no longer considered gambling. You might be thinking it would be resolved quickly, but if you want to place money on fantasy football, you'll have to wait a while.
ASU made quite the upset against its rival number 2 seeded U of A. The game was pushed into double overtime with a final score of 69-66. The new athletic director has already announced that Herb Sendek will continue to coach the basketball team through 2014 and on. I'm curious to see how fantasy football goes from here.
I'm not really involved with it, though.
It really makes a difference when you play fantasy football and watch the game.
Yeah, I know you need to watch football to understand fantasy football.
True. Does fantasy football go through the Super Bowl?
Yeah, next year's Super Bowl is here in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. Are you going out to the game?
Yeah, I want to.
I prefer to watch from home.
But I want to sit in the stadium and watch.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time on DHN.